Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company, and I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsperson and an entrepreneur to answer any questions. We are just going to get right into it. You guys know Jason Paris, mustacheless, fresh mustacheless.
Oh no.
And
Impulse shave.
Impulse shave. And we are in Minneapolis at the Hilton, and what happened here?
I panicked and I had a razor, and so I just shaved.
Not your mustache, Jason
Oh.
Paris. We've been here for a couple days.
Yep.
What is this? Why are we here?
So this was Paint by Numbers.
Uh-huh.
Kind of genesis back in July when we were planning our year-end retreat, and I got a lot of questions about how we do things and how the team operates, how we incentivize people, all that stuff. So we said, what if we just invited people to watch how we train our people? And so it became a little bit more than that.
It became a lot more than that.
And so that was kind of the ethos of being open book. And so we actually, for some reason, so Chet took that very literally, and we shared all of our financials. Apparently.
Not just one book, all the books.
Yeah, so we shared all the books, which was great.
Wow.
So we were completely open book
Yeah.
with everyone attending. Same thing with our team.
Yep.
So 2-day event, went through aligning on contribution margin, how to know when you can afford a salesperson, how to know when you can afford a project manager,
Yep.
how to incentivize those roles with comp packages.
What to pay them,
Yep.
how to
Emotional
do it.
sales. I went through kind of how to operate through an ERP, and a handful of other sessions.
10,000 foot view.
Yep.
This was a 2-day event here in Minneapolis. Heavy hitters from all over the place flew in.
Yep.
And basically, you guys would be doing this anyway. You'd grab your company,
Yep.
and this would be a retreat-ish sort of thing, some training. We're going to go through our systems, our processes. We're going to kind of give perspective, and we're going to prep for 2020. It's just that you guys invited the public
Yeah.
this time. And it was very interesting to me because, I mean, there's no... everybody's interested in what you guys are doing. There's no sort of getting around that. And I can't imagine me being the lightning rod that I try to make myself. I get a lot of questions.
Yep.
You guys must just, I mean, the direct messages, the emails, and you must get inundated with questions. Hey, help me do this thing. Help me do this.
Yeah.
And, so this was probably just born out of, okay, we'll just do it then.
Yeah, that was part of that. Just,
Yeah.
You want to see how we do it? I'll show
There it
you,
is.
right?
Yeah.
So we had about 45 people in the room. About a third of them were from Minnesota.
Yes.
So that was
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
And then 2/3 from around the nation.
Yeah.
So we appreciated that.
It was impressive. And basically, for 2 days, you guys walked through everything. And
Yeah.
when you say open book,
Yeah.
not only did you show us, you gave us a Google folder to
Yeah.
just download and have.
Yeah,
We have it.
spreadsheets, slideshows, processes,
Yeah.
checklists.
It's okay. You open the Google Drive, you follow along with the thing, you find the stuff, and you're like, this is going to take 6 months. Because
Yeah.
this came through your guys, and you know how it is looking at other people's spreadsheets. Makes perfect sense to them.
Yep.
It takes time to digest. This is so dense. And when we were sort of like talking about this beforehand, you guys gave me a little preview of what you're going to do, and I had no idea. You guys scratched the surface. I was sitting back looking at this saying, there's nothing like this.
Yeah.
There's nothing like this.
Yeah. The idea was to put forward a model to start having people think of not just owning a job, but how do you own a business, or even how do you own an asset?
Yep.
And not much of the industry operates that way.
Yep.
And so it's a very foreign concept. Even if you're doing everything yourself, how do you start thinking about this as a business? Not just I'm a painter, I'm good at what I do, I should run a business, right?
Yep.
That was a big part of it.
It's amazing that everybody in our industry has the same story. We found ourselves here. Maybe this was a life calling, maybe it was not, but we all run into the same pain points, the same funnels, the same everything. Yeah. And then normally it just sort of like we live with that pain, or we learn to function with it. And
Yeah.
it's a completely different mindset. Like when I stand back and kind of look at what you guys did here, everybody's dream, or most people's dream, are beach, blue cocktail, not functioning in a business, but having a business function.
Investor. Yeah.
Investor, yeah. Like I own this
fourth
thing,
quadrant.
and it can do something without my input. But it seems to me that there's a gap between where somebody is right now and there, and there's not a lot of like they don't fill in that, like what that looks like between where they are now and that, but
Yeah.
they hold the dream.
Yeah.
They still have it, and they put effort towards pursuing it, but it's sort of like treadmill after a while.
Yeah.
You know?
So again, we were open book. Here's how we did.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
exact areas that got professionalized and the processes that go into each of these areas being professionalized. It's not if we are the guardians of information secrets, that's a losing battle.
Yes.
It's kind of the mindset. And so we said, here's how we did it. Here's how we do it, even locally to Minnesota painters.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's not all information. It's actually a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and
very
what's-
talented people.
Oh.
Team of very talented people.
Intentional effort, constant effort, and just executing really well most of the time.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yep. So day one was mostly on the theory,
Mhm,
on the
mhm.
concepts, on how you perceive things and think about things through different mindsets, primarily as a business owner or an investor, as opposed to a job owner. That was my big ethos kind of takeaway from day one.
Mhm.
Day two was now we've peered into each segment of the business.
Yes. Yep.
Let's do it in your company.
Yep.
And that's where I had about a team of 5 people walking around the room,
Mhm.
helping people with the Google spreadsheets because it was a little
Yep.
dense. But how do you run this in your business? How do you run these exercises? How do you kind of workshop together?
Yep. So Chet, basically one of the questions I had for you over the last year was like, I know Chet does a lot of this stuff to help the business. What is it? And we sort of like dance around. Chet's thing was just there today.
Yeah.
And we actually filled it out as a group. And
Yeah.
I filled it out for my business. And it was just,
Yeah. These are mind-numbing worksheets to put together.
Yeah.
And the reality that someone's going to put that together is probably pretty low.
Yeah.
But by seeing it, you get to appreciate the mindset of where does this professionalization lead to?
Yeah, seeing an example of it makes it infinitely more easy to like connect the dots
Yeah.
between where you are now and that. And if for nothing else, it may tell you that doesn't interest me. And at least you're not holding this weird thing, or
Yeah.
maybe it interests you very deeply.
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, the path forward.
Yeah.
There's an example.
And this was all just an example of how we do things.
Yes.
And so it's
Yeah,
not
that's true.
the end all for everybody, but
Yep.
we were pretty open book on here's why we do it, here are the variables that we consider, and if you were to do it differently, you'd probably want to edit C14 at a
Yeah.
different rate.
and we were.
We shaded it yellow so you know
Yeah.
which one to edit.
And it was beautiful because
So-
there was a few things that I manipulated because I have a W-2 employee company and you have a sub company basically.
Yeah.
And it was a couple quick numbers change and all of a sudden Holly and I are looking at, oh yeah, there it is right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought Holly too.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
for my team, it's the vision is what captivates them and what
Yes.
gets them motivated. And that's why one of the reasons that we do an open book model
Yep.
is so that all of our core staff sees the bigger
Yep.
picture and knows where we're headed.
So you guys aren't this, ivory tower sort of thing where your leadership team is like, oh, we don't interact with the office and we got to keep numbers from them because these numbers are secret and safe.
And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's a bad model, it's just not our model.
Exactly.
And what we
Yep.
found is that the model we run works very, very well for us. It may turn other people off.
Yes.
Right? There may be a certain
Absolutely.
culture of person that this open book management does not work well with,
Mhm.
and we just don't attract those people.
Yep.
But the people that it does attract, we win very strongly with. I think it comes to alignment on what your philosophies are in a business.
Yep.
And if those align kind of from top to bottom, as well as aligning on where you want to go, we want to develop our people. We want them to step up and run kind of mini businesses within our holdings company.
Yep. Yep. Don't
Then
hamstring people.
Then that's where the value comes, right?
Yeah.
Or hamstring them, but move towards a goal where that's positive.
Yes,
So more
exactly.
move towards a goal where that strategy is effective.
Yep.
Hamstringing people would not be effective towards our strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
effective towards another strategy, but not the strategy that we're pursuing.
Quick question for Phil Klein, our friend Phil Klein. When are you doing it again?
So I think this one was well received. I think that was some of the debates we had.
That's very humble
we were
of
gonna,
you to say. It's insanely well received.
Yeah. So again, we are going to do this every single year, regardless of if anybody comes,
Yeah.
because it's very important for our internal team. You saw Mark's presentation to all of his project managers, and they all took it very. And he has a phenomenal team of production.
Yes.
So anyway, short answer is yes, we will do it again. We'll do it. I'm under the assumption we'll do it next December, and
Mhm.
maybe I just make that decision. I like it because if you're going to come to Minneapolis in December, you better be pretty serious about your business.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
It does weed out the riffraff.
Yeah, this is not a. I think I would recommend going to if you want to socialize, we did socialize, but if you want to socialize and hang out in a nice city. It was nice weather. Go to the PCA events. They pick out the best premier destinations every single year. I recommend going to that. This is like, come to Minnesota. It's going to hurt to breathe.
It was
outside.
1 degree and it was painful.
We are going to do a live action boot camp on your business at a time of the year where you're very reflective and you're looking forward to next year.
And
so the
yes, go ahead.
Short answer is next year in December is when we'll do this again.
Explicit instructions: bring a laptop and be prepared. We're doing this
together.
together.
Bring a laptop. I recommend bringing, and we price this very low because I just want people to come, but I don't want people to come for $0 and get free sandwiches, because then you get
not be interested.
Get the homeless people off the street.
Or you get guys like Chris Mole who will just wander.
We did a super discounted rate, especially if you brought somebody, because I think that's where the biggest value in some of these things is getting your team bought into a vision and seeing them. This is more. I could actually see myself developing into these roles that I'm seeing. Right? And sometimes it's hard to cast that vision as a business owner, where you're trying to tell your team, believe me, I know we're a painting company, but I have these ideas. Come and see a team where it's happening. Yeah. And you can kind of inspire those that are around you.
It's very valuable to see an example. And that my big sort of takeaway when you stand back and look at all this stuff is, I think people have the impression that you guys are wonderkinds and you put forth no effort and get amazing results. And the big takeaway is you guys are putting in intentional effort in everything.
It's a very big chasm. And the model that we use is called the Paint by Numbers wheel, right? So it's this wheel of strategy, different segments and quadrants of the business that need to become developed for it to become a stabilized asset that's professionalized. That's what our model is all based around. So yes, it takes intentional effort in every single area, and the reality is it's a very large chasm between owning a job where the owner-operator is functional in these areas to where you now own an asset, and your shares produce value regardless of your effort. And that's a very large chasm.
Huge chasm.
That we're very passionate about, and that's what we do.
Nice. What are you holding?
So this is, it came. I know you guys have been wondering.
Buckle up, everybody.
This is the Holy Panda key switch.
This is a
just don't talk.
Key switch for
stop talking.
Keyboards.
So
you got to give people context, man. You can't hold up a thing that nobody recognizes.
So this is a key switch for a mechanical keyboard. It is a Halo True stem switch. So Halo True switch stem taken apart and put into an Invern Panda switch case. And so it's kind of a Frankenstein switch. And the force graph on this is very beautiful, if you've looked at that.
I know that.
It does not have a tactile click, but it does have a tactile bump. The spot that it bottoms out at is very nice when you're clicking on it. And so I got 110 of these bad boys, and I can't wait to install them here hopefully tonight. But I got it yesterday, and I've been pretty packed with this conference, so I've been holding this one all day, just enjoying it.
Oh man! So if people want to find you guys, website for this, because I've been inundated with people asking, "What the hell is this? How do I find out about it?" What?
Yeah, so our website. Give us some grace if you go to our website, because it's my first conference, and it was like, just give me grace. Go to your website. It's so it's PBN Partners.
Paint by Numbers Partners.
Yep. So Paint by Numbers acronymed into 3 letters. PBNpartners.com, and that is the website. Don't look at it too closely because I put it together very quickly. So Steve has a question.
Steve-O.
What spreadsheet segment examples, other topics that you give roughly or broad strokes? No free food, just reading the menu. So no, we shared the entire spreadsheet with people. Like a suit, yeah. Unfortunately, we shared a clean version, and then some reason we shared our entire financials, which is actually really good for people to get a broad band of what a $5 million company looks like.
And it should be said too that no secrets.
Yeah. So so he was actually, sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
He said roughly broad strokes. So there was one around financial modeling, how you set your budget for 2020. There was then one specifically based off the cash flow needs of the business, depending on the seasonality and your expenses and your AR. It was a very complex spreadsheet.
Very complex.
That's very mind-numbing. We made one where if you use QuickBooks, you can just download it, the ledger, and it'll populate the next kind of 3 concurrent tabs on that spreadsheet. And then quickly, the other 2 ones that I really liked that I saw them go through is can you afford, how can you pay a salesperson, and how can you afford and pay a production manager? Whether you are, and then we put out sections of how much is the business owner doing for each part. So you may be doing all of it, but what can you afford to pay yourself for that role? Including variable and adjustable cells that you can change based off of your business model that then show you what's reality.
I've not seen that quantified before.
Yeah.
So people always say, when do I add an employee? When do I add a salesperson? When do I add a production manager?
Yeah.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah. So and this comes from the exercises that we do in house. So to give kind of a gauge of the ethos is when we go through our comp meetings, we'll sit down with the salesperson, or prior to the salesperson, compensation meetings.
Yeah.
We'll say, here are the parameters that we run our business off of, right? When it comes to the sales activity, here's the cost on margin that this business runs on. You tell me what your comp plan is next year.
Yep.
And we went through an exercise of that, and it was the real
Awesome.
data. It was, here's what the salesperson did this year.
Yep.
Here's the comp plan they presented. Their coach then looks in and pulls out some parts that they may be excited about or concerned about,
Yep.
and then they agree and sign off on a comp package. But it's almost giving that person ownership to self-regulate, to
Yes.
say, I'm not just the business owner or the president in this case
Yep.
telling you this is what you're going to get paid for this job, and let's see how you perform. So, no, you come to me and tell me what you would like to make and how this works in the business model, and then let's go after that together.
And you can both look at something and agree to it. When I heard you in a podcast recently with Chris Shank, where you say what normally happens is this bluffing game of, I'm going to ask for this much an hour, and this person's going to try to say no and less, and there's really nothing to justify either end.
Right.
It's more just like feelings. And this is a spreadsheet. You change a number. Do you want to make this much this year? Good. We change that number. This is what you're going to have to do.
Yeah. What kind of activity do you want to do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this one I could get pretty deep into the weeds of it. I probably shouldn't, and I won't, because how do you talk through a spreadsheet
Yeah,
that's already
right.
dense at that point? So.
But it's yeah. I will say this. I've not seen it quantified,
Yep.
and it's just a wonderful thing. And it's not like, well, maybe just Paris does this. The thinking behind it is all solid logic.
Well, it's
you know.
Yeah, the team.
It's just metrics. Yeah.
The team that we have is just A+,
Yes.
right? And that's what was the cool thing about this
Big
conference
takeaway,
for me
yep.
is that I was a very small part of it, right? I got to comment on a few things and give a few discussions, but honestly, I thought Chet is probably just as captivating, probably more captivating than I am. And
I don't know. Your jokes are pretty good.
my jokes were A+.
A+.
And the energy that Micah brings into a room, I can't replicate.
Your head of sales and things
Mark
like
is
that,
a
yeah.
stud.
Production guy. Yep.
He is
yep.
an absolute animal.
Amazing that he can marshal what he does. 1,000 jobs a year in a very 7-month window.
Yeah, April through October.
It's
And then
that's amazing.
Alex is just like a.
He's a professional.
He's
an
a professional.
absolute professional.
The competency
in
that he
everything.
carries is
Yeah.
purple unicorn, as we like to say.
It's very interesting that, and it's good to see examples and know this, that you and Chet could force yourself to probably do what Alex does, but not as well.
Yeah.
Alex could probably force himself to do what you do, but when you get right person, right seat on the bus, they function so highly, and it's so good to see that
And
there
we all
is a role.
are open-minded to our roles too.
Yeah.
So there's no ego involved in what we're good at or not good at. You know, I work for in one role and one hat that I carry, I actually work for Alex.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And another hat that I carry, Alex reports to me as a shareholder. But you have to be ego-less, and we're all bought into this mindset of assets building
Yep.
in the next 10 years of our life. And how do we start thinking about these business units as assets? How we professionalize them into stability by defunneling critical roles.
And you could boil this whole thing down to smarter, not harder.
Sure.
Our industry,
Okay.
our industry prides itself on martyring ourselves for these businesses.
And yeah,
largely.
in your community, they do.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a mindset where people need to take the next step and say, be proud of your hard work, but you can also apply some intentionality, some intelligence, and things like that. And
Yeah.
there's something else to be had here, you know?
Yeah. What was your big takeaway? You were here for 2 days.
Yeah, confirming, you know, because there's a lot of, I've known you guys for a long time, We're very close in proximity. I probably have a look into the window a little more often than most other people around the country. You guys have inspired me over the last couple of years. A large portion of what I've been doing now is because of you guys and seeing an example and saying there's something better out there and there's something there for it if you do that work. And the big takeaway was confirmation of, I know you guys are intentional about your work. I know everything is based in logic and science and everything's well thought out. But seeing how much intentionality and actually seeing how you guys function, and I don't get a peek into Alex's world. I get a peek into your world very often. I cannot tell you how helpful that is to say, there's an example.
Yeah, these are not trade secrets. That's how we perceive them, as not trade secrets. It's here's what we're doing, and here's the work that it takes. And we've talked through ad nauseum about the effects of the industry, and the biggest threat that we faced is the unprofessionalized individual, right, running a business, and the illegitimate painting business, as it's called. And if we can help be a part of that, I think our biggest impact is locally.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Professionalizing other businesses around us, legitimizing them, we can have a true effect.
Yes, I agree.
But then there's some effect nationally because people live through others' experiences. You talk to your sister in Kansas. If she had a bad painting experience, now you're super defensive as you try and hire a painter in Minnesota. That's a tough environment to operate off of.
That's true, yeah. And so, standing back, it seems like, there are no secrets in this stuff, and the reason you guys are able to just say, here's what we did in 2019, here's our whole financial thing, is because it's marathon running. It's, exactly what it takes to run a marathon. A good diet, our exercise regimen. How many people are going to do that all the time? And that's the difference. It's the intentionality, the execution, and doing it all the time, every day.
Especially if you've never run a marathon before. Right? Then it's a lot harder. And it's a lot of work to professionalize a business, to turn it into a stable asset, to defunnel the roles, and make it stable. And we'd love to see more of that happen.
Yes, I agree. And it's interesting to see the inspiration that happens at a lot of this stuff, because it's fun to watch people's faces through this. And sometimes when they see an example of what it takes to run something like this, you can almost see it like, oh my God. But then there's other times where it's like, all right, man.
If it's a piece of information that somebody needs, or a spreadsheet or something like that that's truly holding them back, we are not going to be the gatekeepers of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think you're a very rare example of someone who just needed information and perspective. And once you started to get that, you really took off. And if that's truly what's holding somebody back, we are going to give that every day of the week. We find a lot of times is that it's not just the information, right? It's either not a right fit for a self-employed painter to then become a business owner or an asset holder, or the time, sacrifice, and just brain damage it's going to take to do that is not in their tolerance. And selfishly, that's what part of this event was for, right? To throw out this kind of idea of a shareholder. And I have a holdings company that we operate under, and we just acquired a construction company of putting that through the process of professionalizing it, taking it from a $200,000 business to a $3 million business. And we are going to put that out there and be passionate about professionalizing businesses into stable assets and having a mutual incentive for that to happen.
So you guys have a lot of brain power, you got a think tank, you have lots of capacity to run lots of things, and you're looking to do the same thing that you did for your business with other businesses too, and that's very inspiring too. It's not just this thing, it can be so much more, and I love the way you guys think about that sort of thing.
Appreciate it, man. And I think the trades need it. And I think the trades are one of the last industries, maybe not last, are one of the next industry. The trades are one of the next industries to go through this process of professionalization. And you've seen it in farming, in coffee shops, right? In all these other industries, they've started to conglomerate. And we feel passionate that we can help be a part of it. I am personally incentivized to build assets for the next 10 years of my life. So I want to do this through partnerships with people, building mutual assets. But I think there's going to be a shift in the trades where it's going to start to become professionalized. And partnerships are very common in most business industries. It's not common in the trades, and I think there are several reasons for that. but I don't see it being a long-term reality.
Well, if you hang around any industry event, you'll hear from everybody, partnerships suck.
Yeah, I love.
There's disdain for partnerships.
And so we've both become fans of first principle reasoning.
Yes.
It's like, great, tell me about that. Tell me why that's right. Because one of the big red flags, or one of the big exciting things that happens to me is when somebody's emotional about something.
Oh,
and there's two types of red flags that happen. The one is, this is just how it's done. This is how it's always, it's tradition. The other is, you just asked me a question and now I'm emotional about it.
Yes.
And the emotions are not bad. Sometimes they trigger something that's really strongly felt, but a lot of times there's a defensive reaction that comes up.
Yep.
And I've had good conversations, and I've had conversations where you're not really answering my question. And when I start to hear that over and over, that's what really piqued my interest to dig deeper and dive into what does that mean?
Yep.
Is there a market condition here that's on the kind of the verge of spilling over?
Yep.
And I do think we will see regionalized consolidation in trade-based businesses, much like we've seen in other industries where the next generation is not necessarily filling the shoes of the generation before that.
So I would never demean what you guys did here, but here we go.
Okay.
It seems to me like the rest of the world does a lot of the things that you do, the real business world, and the trades just don't. What you guys are doing is world-class, innovative. Nobody's doing. It's 10 steps ahead. If you go into maybe the real estate market or something else, it seems to me like a lot of these basic business principles are practiced every day.
Yeah. Yep. I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think we're very fortunate to be in the industry that we're in because it's on the cusp of going through kind of a revolutionary change.
It's the Wild West.
And it's about to have an iteration as an industry as a whole. And I think that's interesting that we can be a part of that.
Yeah. It's ripe for change, and you always wonder that if we're going to look back 10 years from now and say, boy, that time around 2020 was interesting. So
Scott has a question. When you professionalize a company, are you thinking about an exit, potential buyer down the road? So for me, it's very hard to sell. So let's think down the road, like a holdings company of trade-based businesses. It's very hard to sell that because I don't know what I'm going to do with that cash. There's not a much better stable multiple than owning equity in kind of holdings of small business units. So you can take that cash. Where do you put it? Where can you put it that gets you a similar return?
Where else? What's the opportunity cost? What else can I be doing?
So that's always the question in selling something is what do you do with that cash?
Yep.
And I don't know if there's a much better option personally for what we're trying to build in the next 10 years. Now, I think part of this question might be there's a lot of baby boomers retiring.
Yes.
There's not many people filling their shoes.
Nope.
There's a lot of legacies that are likely going to die.
Yes,
and this is
very
kind of a
much so.
passion seed that the owners of the holding company, the people that are involved in this with me as shareholders, we do feel passionate about honoring the legacy that people have built. And there are a lot of baby boomers specifically that are going to go out of the business in the next 5 to 10 years, and their kids are not going to pick it up, and their legacy will die with them, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and,
very unfortunate, because think of all the experience and knowledge and wisdom that these people have built over 40 or 50 years.
And the brand, and the
brands
reputation,
too, yeah.
and what it stands for,
Yep.
and what it means, and all those things. So I would love introductions to those people. I'd love to partner with them and honor the legacy that they have, especially if they're interested in 5 years for not selling their tools, but for selling an asset.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, PBN.
Yeah, paint by numbers.
Paint by numbers.
So
Listen.
PBNpartners.com is the one website we have that's semi-functional. Please don't judge it too hardly because we threw it together pretty quick. Otherwise, most of you know how to reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. That's a great way to message me and get a hold of me. Otherwise, Jason at paris-painting.com. That's Paris, like the city in France. Or just ask Nick May for my contact, and maybe then I'll feel like I'm the popular one.
Listen, man, from everybody here, I think people were fans of the transition curve. You ride that wave between optimism. I can't do this. Optimism. I can't do this. And I saw that on a lot of people's faces. But I think when you're doing that, you know you're hitting some stuff. Like, I know that it gets people's minds going. And I can't thank you enough for doing this. This
if
is
somebody's
insane.
interested in next December, shoot me a message too. I'm sure we'll get some kind of a waiting list going or something like that.
Yep.
This is a very unique event. It's not meant to be in competition with other events that exist out there. This is a pretty specific mindset event, the mindset of the shareholder.
Yep, and it's awesome. So thanks for watching, everybody. Paris and the entire crew here, your whole team of people, insanely impressive, and just seeing it is worth it alone. Just seeing the example, and now going forth and saying, I've been gapped. Here's where I am. Here's where this thing is over here. What are we gonna do?
You've been chasmed.
I'd be chasmed. Let's just call it a gap, or like a crack or a fissure or something. You know,
You're very close.
Yes. As you roll your eyes. No, man, this is awesome. Just seeing it was worth it. So again, get a hold of Jason, and yeah, we'll put the link up in here later. And thank you guys for watching. Have a good Friday, and thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Seriously.